Okay, so we should be live, so we'll just hold on, make sure that it actually appears. Oh, that's not muted. That's not going to be any good. There we go. I see us going live. I will make sure that the tweet has gone out. Should be relatively soon, unless Astronomabot is not running. I can just double check here. Come on. No, it looks like it should be running. Should just be a matter of time before it shows up here. There it is. Okay. So that gone out. We can start to dig into this. So last time we got all the buttons hooked up. There were a few little complications that I realized afterwards, such as the fact that I had soldered things onto this board but I hadn't actually connected them. And one of the buttons wasn't working properly. Oh yeah, because I hadn't properly cut a trace, so it was actually pulled to ground unexpectedly. But I got those fixed up in just a couple minutes. Just a matter of trial and error, just to make sure that I had things working. So that's all working on this microcontroller. This is the one that we're going to be using. I've got code on there to read the button inputs as well, and to display it on screen. So at this point, we basically just need to get everything that's going to this microcontroller hooked up to the other one. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then we need to kind of compress all this down in there. I have batteries now, which we will hook up in parallel, and these should fit in here somehow, whether it's stacked or I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. I have a board that'll supply power, so you can charge through this micro USB on the bottom edge here. The batteries will plug into this port on the side, and then up here we've got 5-volt out. It came with a USB port, but I took that off. It wasn't soldered in. I just removed it, and so we can get 5 volts out of there. It nicely also has an enable pin that lets us power off the output just by, if you just ground that enable pin, then that will disable the output. So we can nicely hook that up to our power switch that we've got here. So that'll be easy to do, and that'll just go here and straight up cut off the output, and it doesn't have to have any amount of actual amperage going through it. It's literally just pulling a pin to ground. So that's nice. Now, one thing I was wondering is if I'd be able to make this power actually go to the volume port here. I don't know if that will actually be feasible or not. I only came up with this idea not long ago, so I just need to see if it's actually something that would work. Yeah, so if that was actually there, it wouldn't be too outrageous. The question is whether we can have this end to the other board that close to each other without interfering. but that'll be a thing to find out once we kind of have everything wired up. We can play around and see what we've got as options. So, that being said, step one will definitely be to get the inputs wired up to the main microcontroller. So I'm just gonna take a quick note here on the table, so I know which ones are which. Brown is ground. Black is power. Orange goes to D1. Actually, it's interesting how little solder there appears to be there. Hey there, lab. You got here early enough to see this is what I'm doing? Or here, yeah. So I'm just trying to figure out what we've got. So orange, and we've got yellow. And orange goes to D1, and yellow goes to D2. So we will simply unplug these. These are just nice little connectors. Set that aside. That's perfectly good for later. So the question is, so I guess my first goal is that I want the microcontroller USB to be accessible through the link cable port. So it's got to sit like that. If I want the power to be accessible through the volume port, then I'm going to need to have this board here, kind of like that, or potentially the other way, I'm not sure, but that actually is feasible in terms of space. It's just that if I put it this direction, the battery connector will be over top of the other board, which is kind of questionable, but fine. Actually, I guess, so these just plug in like this. So I have two of them, because that way we'll have increased battery life. So I'm just curious if this sits right next to this. Yeah, that'll fit perfectly. That'll all line up nicely. The battery doesn't really interfere, and I can still put the battery pretty much wherever without even extending the wires. So I just need to not put this on this side. I need to put this input thing kind of over here on this side of the board. One thing I do want to do is I want to put a little bit of hot glue on here and on here. Now that do I want to do that now? Yeah. Now that I have this working, as Kibble had said yesterday, don't glue anything until it's working. And those are wise words indeed. Where did I put my hot glue gun? God damn it. So we can seal this unit at this point. That's my whole idea, and that way we can kind of get some lock down some of these, just so that they don't go too crazy. But ultimately, all these buttons did in fact work yesterday after some effort, and so hopefully once we get this hooked into this board, we'll have a nice little interface that will actually display the real-time button presses on screen, which is kind of cool. I tested it out just theoretically, but I didn't have it actually hooked up, so we'll see if it actually works. And once we have the battery stuff hooked up, which will be step one, we'll get the inputs hooked up, and step 2, and then we'll test those, just wired into power from the computer. Step 2, we'll get the power hooked up. Oh, another nice thing is I had ordered off of Amazon a new battery door, because so this one actually has a latch and everything, because the one that I had, the latch was broken. So this one will actually stay in place, which means it will be openable, which means that if I put the batteries down at this end, they'll be vaguely replaceable. Vaguely. Not really if I end up putting the power board up here, but whatever. The other thing that needs to be done with all of this is I want to make sure any excess ports are blocked up. So the headphone port on the bottom, I can probably just toss the headphone jack back in there, and we'll see how that goes. The volume knob, I was going to do something about that, but I've realized right now that I can put the power board there, so that's good. So that will be another hole dealt with. The contrast dial I had glued in place, even though it's not doing anything, but it's there, kind of filling up space. And yeah, so the only real thing that needs to be filled up is this headphone port. The other thought that I had was, what if I... Actually, well, before I go too far and get too crazy here, could I really just put this here? Because then everything would be nicely accessible. I'd have to make this hole a little bit bigger, and this would have to sort of sit on top of this input board. Because if I put it sideways, it would basically fit. But if I put this... The problem is that I can't get it low enough. Oh, unless I put it... No, I can't really put it upside down here. And even then, it doesn't gain me any advantage. See, if I put it down here, I'd have to still have it. I'd still have to open up that hole a little bit more, and there'd be empty space underneath it. So unless I found a way to like grind up the old battery door and turn it into a glue that I could fill that in with, which is possible, that wouldn't really be an option. Let me, before I poo-poo that whole idea, let me just think about that for a second. Is there a thing on here saying what material this is? Because if I could do that and fill that gap in, fill the battery hole and cut a custom slot, this would be the preferred spot for me to have the power. The only other question is, as I had already gotten into, how much space around the port do I actually need? Yeah, so I'd need to extend it by not much. I just need to make it a little bit wider there, and it would fit. You'd be able to plug in, as long as I put this right to the very edge. Although I can't quite... Well, I'd have to trim this little bit back a little bit on here. And then I just need to either put something underneath this port. Actually, just out of curiosity here, how does this normally fill in this hole? Actually, I guess let's just look at the other Game Boy. So on the other Game Boy, there's actually some space around the port. Not a lot, and it's mostly covered with black backing. So what if I got some black plastic from somewhere and cut it around the micro USB port and put it around that, expand that hole a little bit more. Or if I was able to cut this out of the old back door, cut that same shape out, and fill in the remaining space. Oh right, also I forgot that I had started heating up the hot glue gun. Hey bloody! So this should be plenty hot by now. Okay, so that's that covered, and then I wanted to put a little bit of hot glue down over these wires, / around these wires, just to give them some mechanical support here. Okay, that should be good. Just unplug the hot glue gun. I've got glue on my fingers already. Polishing the train tracks. That sounds lewd. What is that? I'm getting all sorts of comments on my Pokemon Cock version video. It's weird. I'm getting a whole bunch of new followers or subscribers on my YouTube channel. I'm not sure, like, it seems like it's being linked somewhere. I don't know. Actually, I wonder if I can check referral information on YouTube. I'll have to check that out, because it's very, very strange. Like, okay, so that's that. There had been some spots there that I missed on the board, and there's still another one there. Okay, why do I have this plugged in still? I don't know. We'll throw that over here. And this doesn't need to be right here right now, so I'm going to move that. So, where do I want this board to be? I need it to be basically on this side over here. I need this positioned here, because I then need the power board in this spot. So, the farther up and to the right I can get this, the farther I can get it there. Oh wait, no, sorry. That's not true, because I want to put it down here now. I changed my mind. Because now I can, if I have that there, I can put one battery on either side. No. Can't put a battery on either side, actually, and that's not good. What if... alternate option here. What if instead of actually putting it into the headphone port there, I shifted it over to the side, put it over here where there's no wires, cut a new hole for the micro USB, or over onto this side. It's probably easier to put it over here. Well, not really. And if I put this upside down like this, no, that doesn't really help. Oh, jeez, just sucked back some tiny little globule of spit and Choked on it. Okay, let's not do that again, because that was not fun. So I still don't really know where I want this to be. The other factor playing into all that is if I want these batteries to be replaceable slightly, they need to be accessible through this battery door, which actually gives me most of the space here. Polishing train tracks sounds different and would be faster. That is weird. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die live on Twitch. Become famous for dying on my own spit on Twitch. It's my secret to YouTube gold, or becoming a Twitch legend. Did you hear about the guy who died from choking on his own spit? Yeah, what a fucking idiot. Okay, so we have 3.3 volts here and need ground as well. We're gonna need ground a few different times here. The other option is to just tie it into the... Well, let's see what we can do in terms of positioning here first, before I get all too crazy about what goes where. Fortunately, there's a lot of wires here I have to bend. But yeah, so I think I could actually pretty easily tap into that. I might need to extend these wires a little bit. I think I could tap into the ground that's just connected to the screen under here. That's probably the easiest way for me to connect to all of this. So tap into ground there, connect to the 3.3 volts off of the board here. Yeah, I need to extend both of these for sure. So we're gonna I should get the soldering iron heating up while I'm fucking around. What tip do I have? I have the big tip on there, so that's fine. That, okay, that's fine. Move this over here. Yeah, so if I peel this tape back, I can put new tape down later. If I peel that back, then we can tap this ground. Black is power, green is, or gray, brown even, if I knew my colors. Brown is ground. So I think that I'm basically gonna have to stick this board down right here, sort of between these two boards, just plonk it down as far down as I can go right there. Which lets me kind of tuck some wires into this gap. So what I want to do is take this brown wire back sort of like this. I want to get it onto that same pin as this other ground. Why am I got wrong hands doing things here? That, and then a bit of extra solder on there. God damn it. Oh, hold on, this other one's ground too. I'm just realizing that I should be able to solder this down to this point and also tap into the same ground plane. I assume those are going to be connected. It'd be really fucking stupid if they had two different grounds. So we'll assume for right now that those are connected. Okay, so that's the ground done up. So if we want 3.3 volts, yeah, we definitely need to extend this because it needs to go to this very furthest pin on here, which it doesn't even reach, and it's not actually in its final location here, so I need a little bit of extra wire there. I should actually just have another option here, and that's actually what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to... Why would I do that, though? That's... kind of stupid. And also kind of not stupid at the same time. So I could use one of these opposite pin wires. They're DuPont cables. So this one's got a socket on it, this one has a pin. Cut it, attach it to the 3.3, connect them together, hot glue them together, so then it's slightly detachable. And I don't have to solder in the middle. Cut that off. Get a little bit of that going. Solder on there. Toss that up through. A little bit more solder on there. Good to go. Okay. So with that, now we can connect these together. Gives us our 3.3 volts to that connection. I will I was hoping that the hot glue gun would be a little bit hot still, but we'll just put that over here for use soon. Okay, then we need to do something. Yeah, actually, we'll do the same thing with these orange and yellow wires also. For the I2C connections. Do we have an orange and yellow? We do have an orange and yellow. Nice. So I2C. I didn't want to do that. Whatever. I2C is a serial communication protocol. Takes 2 wires. And that's how we are talking to this I/O expander. Okay, so orange goes to D1, yellow goes to D2. Orange to D1. God damn it, I just realized that there's solder in the D2 hole because that's the one that I was using before. Where's my solder wick? There it is. Alright, no more solder there. Orange to D1. Okay, so that's that, and then we can connect these together, and then in theory our inputs should work. Once these are all connected, then we can glue those all together. So let's plug this into the computer. Just for power. And we should get everything up and operational. So we've got this now. Oh man. Let's see if it'll focus here. It's a little slow, but that's just because I'm polling every 100 milliseconds or something. I can check it more frequently than that. But you can see the buttons lighting up on screen there. Maybe. Come on. There we go. The random lines is just a display test that I whipped up. That is intentional. It's not graphical glitches. The green one that goes diagonally is just a test of my limits of my drawing area, and the other one was just a test of how quickly can I draw and delete a line at any given time. Because filling in a square is really slow, so the fastest way for me to update the screen is to explicitly only clear the pixels that have been drawn. instead of just clearing the entire thing all at once. And I don't have enough memory on here to do a full frame buffer thing, which is what I wanted to do. And then just have, like, you draw things in the background and then do a flip. But it does not have enough memory to accomplish that for this size of screen that I've got. That was my first plan. So this is fucking awesome. Alright, so cool. So that all works. And you might be able to see that the battery light is red. That is fully adjustable because it's unfortunate that it's not quite wide enough to go into, to fully cover that hole, but so you can sometimes see the edge of the screen, but it's good enough for me. Like, you can see that it is. If you look straight on, it looks like a solid circle. If you look at it at a slight angle, you'll see the edge of the screen. It's no biggie. So cool. So that all works. So let's work on getting this board down and kind of placed. Get these wires cleaned up a bit. Route them nicely in there. And then we'll look at power. Disconnected. Still dealing with the repercussions of that choking incident I had minutes ago there. Okay, so can I upgrade the memory? I basically just have to replace the microcontroller. I'd need like 300 meg of RAM, which you're not going to get on any unless I reduced the color set that I could use. Hey Emily, I need like 300 meg of RAM. I could reduce the color set down to just a basic 8, but it's like a basically a 256 by. It's not exactly 256 by 256, but it's about 256 by 256. So there's a lot of, even if you have a 1 byte color space, you're gonna take up a lot of memory. Yeah, and this has about 4 meg. So anyway, let's do that thing with the wires. That's what I was trying to do. I'm just getting distracted by these little strands of hot glue here. Yeah, like the color space seems to be a 2 byte color space. Even I'm just trying to. Yeah, I may have done that incorrectly, but even still, I think 384 is too much for this. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of overhead. But yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I know when I tried to do it, I was out of space. So I know it's not possible with with what I've got. Okay, so let's. I should have made these wires shorter. I still can. I'm going to make these wires shorter. do that real quick before we get too deep into all this. Come on. Okay, so we'll just cut this down by, I don't know, a lot. I know we didn't need much extra length for this cable, so a couple inches here should be fine. Okay, that's better. And we'll do the same over on the other side once I've trimmed off this excess wire here. Weather forecast changed drastically. That's always interesting when it does, when it changes like completely. Like it's, oh, it's gonna be really nice, to nope, it's gonna be shitty or something. Actually, it's weird because here today, I think it was high of 22 or something. It was, but it was like 16 this morning. It was pretty chilly for a August day. I honestly don't even know if it got to 22 ever, but days of rain. I'm gonna cut this down likewise to pretty short. Yes, chill out, Emily. Ideal. Yeah, well, okay, those are disconnected now. They're not. I guess the connection was only for a little bit there. So orange went to D1. I'm still coughing from that spit incident. That's no good. Okay, that's that one. Orange to D1, yellow to D2. There's enough solder already involved here that you should just be able to touch it, and voila. Okay. So now we have much less wire to deal with here. And we can power this off, hook these up again, make sure everything's still working, and then we will hot glue this together. I will unplug the soldering iron and get the hot glue gun plugged in. So that's heating up while we test this. that and reset it once there. Alright. All the input things do appear to still be working here. So that's good. We'll disconnect this. Then once this is all heated up, we can just glue these little connectors together just for fun. Also known as just to make sure that everything stays connected forever. Okay, so let's just start thinking ahead here for a second. So once we have those all permanently attached, I'm going to try and push this down and maybe throw some glue over a bunch of the wires just to hold this roughly in place. Actually, before we get too far, let's chuck this on and make sure that everything closes relatively nicely here. It does. Let's just make sure that that board doesn't interfere with the new battery door. It does not. Come on. Come on. God damn it. Can't quite get my finger on the, there we go, on the latch. Okay, so that leaves us a lot of space down here. Plenty of space. If we can shift this board over to the right there a little bit, that gives us lots of space here to insert the batteries this direction. I just need to figure out some way of actually securing those batteries in there. And then if we had the battery, the charging board down here, we'd be able to have it somewhere along here, and I don't think it would interfere. So that's pretty good. Obviously this will be secured in place up there. So what do we want to do here then? We want to make sure that this will go up like that. We want to get this off to the right as much as possible. So we want to do something like that. Is there some kind of emulator one can test code for that microcontroller on? I'm sure if you looked up, I don't know. Probably not. Maybe. If you look up an ESP8266 emulator, I don't know. There might be one. So yeah, I think if we can get this over here like this, make it stay down that direction. And we should be able to but for this one specifically, I'm not sure. There might be an Arduino emulator, which may be sufficient if you can find a thing that's similar enough. I doubt there's one for the ESP. But you never know. People have made a whole lot of wacky stuff. Okay, yeah, so with those wires glued down, this does seem to be relatively stable there, so that's nice. Then we'll glue the... yeah, I don't know why people... I don't think there's enough call for an emulator because the chip itself is like less than $5, so... I think most people would just tell you to suck it up and buy one instead of making an emulator. There's not much reason to have an emulator for one either, really. Okay, we'll just get a little bit of hot glue on there. A little bit of hot glue on here. I'm just specifically covering up the bare metal as well a little bit. I'm gonna actually kind of glue these two guys together. You can do everything on the microcontroller. Like, I guess you wouldn't be able to debug, but honestly, the once you're in the world of microcontrollers, you don't often get much, especially from weird little Chinese manufacturers like this. God damn it. You can debug over serial and stuff. Alright, Seal Lab. Might be around later. Cool. So, I will toss this little bundle of wires down there. Is it still hooked up? Yes, okay. So this little bundle of wires down this way. I'm going to just toss a little bit of hot glue in there just to secure them into place. So that should eventually dry, and that'll help secure everything a little bit more again. It's not drying quickly for whatever reason. Maybe I can toss a little bit of hot glue on the other side of it here too. Okay. basically in place there now. This power wire will just sort of have to live around here somewhere. Not going to glue it down, but it'll live just on the back of the screen here somewhere. Then we need to get power hooked up. Okay, so I guess that ultimately will boil down to where can we install this power board / what is the best way to do that. So one option, I guess another thing that I want to do that we kind of need to do early, but we'll try and figure out the spot for this first. So step one, figure out where we want this. The most obvious spot would be to try and install it into the headphone jack. But it's not, well actually, I can sort of fit it upside down there. I just need to have it positioned just so. And then it nicely lines up. I need to expand the slot just a little bit. Don't have it quite on camera there, but it actually lines up pretty well. So I just have to expand the slot a little bit, and then maybe put something black underneath just as a cover. Well, actually, maybe not even. There's not that much gap space there. So let's just see what we've got for expanding. We could use this little guy here, this cylindrical sander, and just kind of buff it out a little bit on each side. I'm just wondering if this starts melting it, could I kind of redirect some of that plastic down into the lower half of this area? Or could I just use my soldering iron, using one of my shitty other soldering iron tips, and melt extra plastic? That's what I should do. I have all sorts of extra shitty soldering iron tips. I'll make an awful smell, but I could use something like one of these big flat ones and just melt plastic, like cut some bits off of the old battery door. I don't think I oh, actually, shit, even better than that. I have the old battery compartment somewhere in my garbage can here. And then I don't need to cut up something that's still theoretically usable. Yeah, and it's the same color. You can cut that up into some small little bits. I don't need this hot glue gun plugged in anymore. Yes, this is coming together now. Okay, so we're going to use the Dremel to expand the slot a little bit. We're going to have it on a low speed so that we don't melt things too much. And now, actually, before I do that, let's just put this down in place here. Kind of figure out how much I need to expand this. And see if I can maybe just do it with my knife first. So I want my Sharpie. I can mark on this little edge here because it's safe. I actually don't need to expand this all that much. The Dremel would probably be overkill. Yeah, I only need to expand it like a millimeter on each side, probably. So before I go all crazy, let's just try with the knife, because we can always touch it up later with the Dremel. Oops. This is going to be a lot heavier than an original Game Boy. Well, I guess not. Not with batteries. Not with batteries in an original Game Boy. That is. Try and cut this whole kind of square here. Then we'll also clean this up with a file just to make it a little bit nicer, and then we'll melt some plastic into this hole. Okay, so we got something that looks a little bit like that, which is pretty bad looking right now. I 100% acknowledge. But are we able to plug into that through this hole? Yes, we are. So then, I need to figure out how the fuck I'm actually gonna... Oh, let's get the file. Clean that slot up a little bit. Okay, so that should be decent enough for our purposes. So we get something that looks like that at the edge, which is obviously shitty looking, but we will attempt to fill in this remaining gap space. That's what I can use the old battery door for. I will basically, what I'm going to try and do is I will melt this in from the other side. I need to figure out, and I can kind of hold it like this. I mean, for the libraries that I need, I need to have a whole library of shit installed, unless I want to entirely re-implement the display drivers, which I do not. So yeah, there is likely a whole lot of other shit taking up space, but I do not have space to do a frame buffer. It's fine because I can just, all I need to do, based on my system, my current plan is to basically have a menu system. There will be a fixed number of slots that text can go in. All I need to do is keep track of what strings are where. I basically do a string-based frame buffer with a fixed number of screen entries, so I can take up a lot less memory doing that. It won't be a big deal. that's my current plan. It's not really a frame buffer, but it's like a fake display buffer sort of thing. Right, so what was I doing? Oh yeah, I was gonna do this crazy whole plan about melting plastic and making a terrible smell that will probably make me regret my life choices. Oh yeah, and I was going to sort of figure out about how far I need to melt. Basically, okay, there's a little kind of edge that I made, so I want to fill in everything below that. I don't know if you can see, there's a little kind of square edge right there. I need to fill everything below that. We're going to see if this actually works. I have... Oh, I don't want to power that on. I want to swap the tips out here. Just the tips. Got a big fat flat solder tip there. This is going to be our plastic melting tip. Oh, I don't want that on the computer, otherwise it'll probably melt. So we're going to use this to gain a little bit of texture. We need to chop some of this. Where are my clippers gone? There. Actually, that's a pretty good little piece there that I can almost put right down here and just sort of blob through. Although I guess it's not quite thick enough. So at least on the inside here, this doesn't look so bad. That looks pretty bad though. So we'll just kind of mash this out that way. Try and mash it downwards and into place a bit. So I think probably if I actually just sand this a little bit once I'm done here, might actually kind of remove that brown color, the slight burning, and you have missed me now melting plastic into this hole. That's probably the big thing that you've missed. Alright, so we're going to call that good. It's kind of got a brown tinge to it. I'm hoping that we can kind of sand that away. So let's just give that a little shot right now. So I'm just trying to fill that in because I want to put a micro USB port down here. But this was the headphone jack, which is obviously a lot larger than a micro USB port, so we had to kind of fill in some space. Only getting shit new carts. Yeah, it's unfortunate because the cart unlocking system is entirely random, so you never know what you're gonna get. Except for like the gold parts. So this is removing the brown a little bit, so that's good. Probably if I had done this with a lower temperature, we wouldn't have gotten this browning, but it's not so bad. Like, that's pretty good as far as I'm concerned. And then we're obviously going to have to trim this out a little bit just to fit our slot in there, but that was the plan all along. So, with that being said, let's just trim away some of this excess material on the back. That's overall not so bad. It's just unfortunate. I just, of course, remember that there's the little thing in the plastic here that says phones, but whatever. Can't do everything. Be cool if I could change that to say power, but I am not going through that effort. Hey, Candy Gambler. Oh yeah, so now the buttons and stuff work and everything, which is pretty sweet, and we've got a little on-screen interface to show what buttons are being pressed. So once I get this little cutout here, so I filled in the headphone jack, and we're going to be putting the power here. So I probably should just do a quick double check now that I've got that filled in. power's going to be going there, so I need to trim out a little bit more space for the micro SD, or not the micro SD, the micro USB port there. But once I've got that there, then we can wire this in place, and then it should be possible to just run standalone, which is going to be awesome. So yeah, we've got to trim this down quite a bit more. But overall, I'm actually pretty impressed with how this plastic melting went. It actually filled it in a lot better than I expected, and I was able to get a smoother result. It's not quite perfect, but it's a lot better than I expected, to be honest. My expectations were low. We're honestly removing just like slivers of plastic at a time here. Just very slowly shaving this down to the size that I want. I think we're almost at the right size now. That's probably pretty close. Yeah, that is in fact exactly right, as far as I can tell. Where's my USB? Here it is. Yeah, because this is a pretty ambitious project on its own, but yeah, this is definitely just the beginning. So if I can get this board a little bit closer to the edge here, it will be a little bit better. But as it is, I can actually plug that in, so that's good. Actually, what I should do is I should have this in place, place the back on. Here it is. Not sure if it's. Oh, that's what that rattling sound is. Just trying to figure out what something is interfering in the. Oh shit! This board is interfering with this post here, but that's fine because we've already cut that post off on the other side. So. That. I should get that to fit. Okay, so that all fits. That port on the other underside is pretty reasonable looking. So let's now put this back in place and see if this all closes up with that in place. Actually, I'm seeing that if I was to trim this hot glue a little bit, I could get it slightly closer. so I need... Oh, actually, it does... Did pretty nicely, but then it popped out of place when I did that. I might want to... I think I'm just going to make that hole slightly larger. Just in all dimensions. And then I'll probably also... On this side, there's just a little bit of a notch there that I will... Actually, no, there isn't really a notch there. So I'll just make it a little bit bigger hole on the other side. Okay, and then we'll just go at this a little bit with the file just to smooth out a little bit of stuff here. I'll just remove some melted plastic from this groove here because that might interfere with how this closes. I will see if I can skim any bonus plastic off the back of here. Just to let us get that board a little bit closer. Knife to lift this little string of hot glue. And we'll trim this hot glue here a little bit. So it was interfering with the placement of that board. Okay, now let's just place this here again. Yeah, that board isn't, that hot glue rather isn't interfering as much, and we've got a nice good opening around that, and it's pretty close to the, in fact it actually kind of sits in that hole a little bit. Okay, yeah, so that's good. So that hole is perfect. Oh, I guess, hold on, what isn't necessarily perfect is that actually it's sitting on the little ledge there that the inside here rests on, so I might need to trim a little bit of this away. That's my guess. Hey, Deceptive. Sits just right. Yeah, we're not quite getting the same positioning. So if we trim a little bit of this plastic lip away. Oh yeah, so I need to put that in the Switch Bitches thing, but on my 24-hour stream, I'm gonna, which is this weekend, I plan to do some karting then, so I should probably tell people that that is part of the plans. Cutting a little bit more of this plastic away than I really need to, but it shouldn't actually have any impact on anything here. Shouldn't even be visible. Yeah, the 24-hour stream is this weekend. Yeah, a lot of the tires don't change much. The gliders change things even less. Okay, so with that like that, now hopefully we can rest this board on that ledge. What if I was to shave, a little bit of this board away? That would get us some bonus space, but I'm not gonna really bother with it. Like there's nothing going on the edge of this board, so I really could just shave it down if I wanted to. I don't though. Okay, so in theory this will sit like that. This will all go down. Like so. Yeah, I'm not gonna. Well, I mean, I guess I can kind of sit it like that, but I can't actually rest on that ledge that I wanted to, which is too bad. I can still have this sticking like that. And then this should still be pluggable, yes. Okay, so when we actually glue this in place, I'm going to want to have that plugged in, just so that we make sure everything is just so. Want to get as much of these plastic shavings off of this little paper towel that I'm using to prevent the screen from getting too scratched. So now we want to try and rig up the power switch, which shouldn't be too bad. We just need to basically run 2 cables that will go the length of the back here. One side will go to ground on this board, and the other will go to the enable pin. So we want it to be grounded when it's this way, actually. We want it to be off when it's onto the left. So we need to connect that as opposed to the other way. So let's use a little bit of this black cable. I'll just grab a whole bunch of it here. Going to be exactly the right amount here. If I cut it in half, yeah, that should be pretty decent. Do that, and we'll do this. We need to get the soldering iron up to heat again, I guess. But before we do that, we want to switch out the tip from the one we were using to melt plastic to something that doesn't have plastic all over it. Yeah, and to think there's at least one other one in the same city as you, Deceptive. We'll strip the other end of these, I guess, just for fun, because that'll be connecting to this board. And this will have to connect here. Does that have to connect anywhere? No, so that can be over top of that, but that's fine. And then the other one will connect to the center pins here. You still sound pretty much the same. I don't know how you can claim that you don't sound remotely similar. Sound pretty similar. Okay. So that's those pins connected. And then connect this one also. I might be able to nicely I might be able to kind of wrap this a little bit around that pin. Provide a much greater amount of surface area, or contact area, which means we'll get a much better connection there. Okay, so yeah, we now have a good connection to this switch. Just gonna melt this and connect this lower down. There we go. So now, if we connect this to this board here, we'll chuck this one through ground, the other one through the enable pin. Actually, can I do this either way? I can. So this I want to be down like that, which means that on this side we'll be looking at it like this. So yeah, it's fine for this to come through this way. Okay, so now what that means is that when we plug this in, the blue light on the right should not power on. Yeah, we just have nothing, and then we switch that switch, the blue light turns on. So that blue light indicates our 5-volt output. So we now have a power switch. And then we need to get the actual power rigged up here. So we can do that. I wanted to make sure there was some slack cable here just so that I have lots of maneuvering space, especially if I ever disassemble this again. So this will sit something like that. Techno Wizard. I was amazed when I discovered that pin was there because I was not going to... I was going to just do a kind of kludgy thing, but this is way nicer to be able to have those pins enable and disable the output. I honestly didn't know that that enable pin existed on this board until like 6 o'clock. Okay, so now we need power, and we get that by pulling this 5-volt and ground over to the 5-volt and ground on this board, which we already have connected, but that means we can just connect it to these. Yeah, exactly. This is not the solution that I was going to start with. Like, I was going with the battery, the USB battery banks, because that seemed like an easy setup, but this is going to be a lot nicer. And also these batteries are a much better form factor. I'm going to have them, the two taped together. I'm going to wire these in parallel, and then they'll plug into this board. And it's pretty small, and that'll be 2,400 milliamp hours instead of the 3,000 that I was going to get before. But considering this takes about 200 milliamps, that's still like 12 hours of battery life. Or more, depending on how much this actually takes, because 200 is like the high-end estimate for the screen and the microcontroller. Okay, yeah, so we will get these power things rigged up here. We'll use some red and black wire. So my plan is to just go off of the connections here to the LCD screen. I might as well strip the other ends of these already because it's a hassle to strip wires once they're attached to something. I'm going to have some time while the soldering iron's heating up. Okay, so we're going to tin the end of these wires. Clean off the tip of the soldering iron because apparently it's smoking like crazy here. Oh, you're trying 200. 200 is like legitimately crazy until you're really good at the game. I still mostly can't handle 200. Okay, that's a good connection to the ground. Let's see if we can get a good connection to the 5 volts here. I think you're gonna purchase a switch. I'll do that. We will. I guess if I turn this like this, then I can use the correct hands for everything here. Just make sure that we still actually have power to the screen there. We do. Buttons are still working, so that's good. So then we can, come on. Should just be able to rig these straight into the battery pack here. Ground and everything, yes, okay. So, the moment of truth. We'll plug in one of these batteries, not both of them, just for safety's sake. The switch is currently off, so we will switch the switch on, which provides power, and voila, we have a display, although doesn't seem to boot up properly for whatever reason. What if I hit the reset button? Yeah, for some reason it seems to only ever work after I hit the reset button, but it's not connected to the computer. So we have power coming from the battery. Use the switch to power it on and off. It's still sort of in a weird state here. does seem to sometimes power on properly. Not like if it hasn't been powered off for very long, it seems to get itself confused. Don't quite know what that's about, but this is working pretty much as expected. Yeah, like if the screen goes black like that, it seems to always start out properly, but I'm not sure. So anyway, that's that. So the question is, what is the deal with that power on issue? Because I was definitely having that before, so that's not unique to this battery situation. Also, I could have turned that off, and then you'd be able to actually see this stuff. See that it's all going there. There's our former whatever. So cool. This is all working. So now we want to try and get this into place. We also need to... Oh, shit. We need to get these two batteries wired up in parallel. We can, at this point, also put some hot glue over this set of power things. We can attempt to hot glue the board in place. We can attempt to hot glue the power board in place. We can basically get to the hot gluing now. Also, you might see my shirt here, which is a Samus shirt. This was some special that they had for SGDQ this year. This is by one of my favorite artists, because I'm actually a person who has a favorite artist, apparently. Ian Wilding, who actually did a whole bunch of, like, a lot of the art in my place. He did a lot of it. And he's Canadian. I think this one is called Phazon Glitch or something. It's specifically a Metroid Prime one. So let's get this board glued in place first. To do that, we're going to just pass all these wires out through the battery door here, just for convenience sake. We will see where everything lines up here for this to be connected. Basically, it needs to be centered on the first N in the word connector. Right around there. And then it should poke up through the link cable hole. not quite up to heat yet. This is actually plugged in, yeah. Let that go a little bit more. But once we've... Oh, I'll also put some glue over this just to reinforce that connection. Even though those are actually pretty decent connections. Clean up a little bit of this glue here, just for fun. That is actually getting hot. Always getting overtaken right at the finish line. I feel like that's always where you get overtaken. You always get overtaken in the last lap. Okay, so we do that, which gets us this in the right spot, or it should be roughly the right spot. I need to trim away a little bit of plastic. Just to account for this being right along the edge here. Okay, yeah, that looks pretty decent there, and this will also have the, come on, this will also get the cover over it once I figure out how that will actually connect, or how I'll make that fit more accurately. Probably be some hot glue contraption. I mean, I only really know about, like, nerdy artists who, like, make shirts and stuff. Okay, so we've got that in place. We will then attempt to get the this board here in place. We want this to be something like that. think it actually has to sit back like this. Oh, did you finish the last cup? Like, positioning-wise? Because, yeah, it'll play the credits after that. It's quite strange. And they're not skippable the first time. Okay, so with that, we can just... I don't think you missed too much. We got the power switch rigged up, and we got some things glued in place, but not too much. I'm going to plug the power in here, just not as a actual need for power, but more as a reinforcement of location, because I'm going to put some hot glue down through some of these holes, I guess. So some mechanical reinforcement. The blue LED on this board makes this hot glue glow very eerily. If I could have like a light pipe, that would be amazing. Or if I had desoldered the LED and run some cables, but alas, I don't care that much. Oh, you know, okay, yeah, that's fine. Still accessible. I was thinking like, oh wait a minute, plugging in the batteries is gonna be fucking impossible, but not actually. Yeah, so we need to trim a little bit of something away here. To make this board fit. I might actually just sand this down. try this again. There we go. You can see a little bit of a gap there, but we're getting close to having everything hardware-wise finished. Actually. Like, actually pretty close now. So I need to route some of these cables a little bit better here. Oh, one thing I did want to do, so just as a point of interest, now we disconnect that and it looks like that, and we can nicely plug in a micro USB into the bottom of this. And you can't, the melted spot that I melted the plastic in actually doesn't look too bad. And this will of course be closable like that. And then eventually I'll be able to reopen it like so. And in theory, one would be able to replace batteries through this compartment door. Because they should be able to just sort of sit in here. Like that, perhaps. Asking as a joke. Well, but honestly, it's not that far off from reality. In terms of the hardware side, which is really the part that I wanted to stream anyway. I wanted to chuck some glue over these connections here because I don't want them coming loose, nor do I want excess strain over them. So that'll give that some strain relief. Gonna just hold this down like this and pop a little bit of glue over that. And then we just need to wire these batteries up to be in parallel and then figure out how to exactly seat those in here. I don't want them to be entirely loose in there, but they might just kind of hold themselves in place nicely anyway. And then we also need to figure out how to secure this closed. And the answer might just be glue at this point. And also we need to attach the game here. Which will sit in there kind of like that to cover that up. And then we need to also attach the label. I think I'll probably just use this label. I can always change it or something. I don't know. But yeah, so this is actually coming together pretty well. Oh, the volume slot needs to be addressed. Forgot about that. So let's see if we can desolder the volume dial. And then we can just glue it in place there. This looks very exciting. Right, so we want the soldering iron. I thought about trying to make this thing make sounds in some way, but I never really came to a conclusion of what I would use that for, besides having an annoying boop 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 noise as I'm navigating through the menus, which isn't really useful or worth any amount of effort. Where is my solder wick? Must be around here somewhere. There it is. Snippy snips. So the solder, or sorry, the volume wheel is this guy over here on the right, or the left rather. I'm going to try and desolder that, and we'll just basically glue it in place if we can get it detached. I had tried this before and hadn't been having much luck, so that's why I'm using words like if. I think this is just a big ground plane. This is these little connectors are attached to, and that's why it's being such a bastard. Ugh, oh man, this like, I think this is maybe like a little heat sink, little heat sink, and I think this is just, oh no, that's actual plastic, something, underneath that copper. I don't know if it's an adhesive or what, but it was somehow, I don't know exactly what the purpose of this is, like a heat spreader or something maybe. I'm just gonna cut this plastic. Okay, so with that, try and get, I just wanted to get that out of the way. Oh yeah, okay, these are just strain relief, or like mechanical, these are just mechanical strain relief things here that are just soldered on, because that's a good way to attach things. And then these 5 pins back here are the actual like outputs from this dial. There's not much holding those in place, I don't think. Not much actual solder, so it's kind of hard to see the effects of this. You can sort of smell it though, and you can see a little bit of silver creeping up the wick. Not a lot though. Almost stabbed myself with a very hot soldering iron. So I'm assuming that this little metal chunk in the middle here isn't anything of note, but I'm honestly not sure. Yeah, that doesn't pass through. That's just a little pad there. Gloves would be so inconvenient. What I really should have is a solder or like a fume extraction fan. I mean, this is lead solder, definitely in this Game Boy. Try not to breathe while it's in the air, but sometimes it's inevitable. And I'm not convinced by how much those fans actually do. Try and get a little bit more solder off of here. Oh yeah, and so 24-hour stream this weekend. I promise to no, the fan would just be to prevent myself from breathing in lead fumes. Not actually to be installed into the Game Boy. It's not going to get hot. It'll not get as hot as an actual Game Boy, I don't think. Okay, there we go. We got the volume dial disconnected. I mean, all these fans do is they pull whatever air they can suck in through a carbon filter. I don't think that's gonna do much. Okay, so we got ourselves a little volume dial here that we can maybe glue into place here into the volume slot. Something like that. Won't even wear diamond gloves. How much does this stick out on an actual Game Boy? So an actual Game Boy doesn't stick out too much. Don't need that. I actually want the hot glue gun. Come on, there we go. So this will sit something like that. So we need to fill in this whole little area down here with some hot glue, and then we will glue this in place. So I guess we gotta let that heat up. And then once that is done, our only remaining hardware task is batteries. I forgot about that. And closing this whole unit up. I'm going to take a picture of this. It's obviously not up to heat yet. So we have two options for connecting these in parallel. One is that I just cut these wires and connect them out here somewhere and then just tape these two together. Or I could actually desolder and solder between the pads there. I think I'm going to connect the wires kind of out here, just because I think that will give us a little bit more flexibility in placement. This is a pretty fun part. I think this is going to be very exciting for right now. The next little part where I actually get everything software working is going to suck, because I'm probably going to run into a bunch of issues. It'll be vaguely entertaining though, but once I actually have it done, that'll be amazing. I think this part, getting this all worked out and actually having this hardware assembled, I think that's pretty goddamn awesome. I think this is probably going to be more exciting than the software part for me. This was sort of the, like, I know I can do the software side, but this is the part that was kind of like, oh, it's a exciting adventure. Fucking hot glue, goddamn little string bullshit. Those cups, Bloody, are those first place in every race golds, or are they just golds? Like, how many stars do you have on those cups as well? So I think most of us have all the cups golded. I have everything under 200 3-starred, and many of the 200 ones 3-starred also. I mean, I'm just saying that, like, that's kind of, like, I know Panda's got a lot of them 3-starred as well, I think. But that's probably, yeah, that's probably better than before. So, that's something. I just not want to close up now. Specifically in this... Oh, because I have a wire in the way. Okay, that doesn't look great, but it's more real looking. Okay, and then we got that down there. It's pretty good. So now we just need to figure out that, and by figure out I mean we just need to connect those batteries together, which means no more hot glue. Means hooking up the soldering iron one last time. Let's do that. I'm gonna go grab some heat shrink tubing. Three star, 1 star, 2 star, silver, no star, 1 star. Yeah, that's not bad. That's actually pretty good, yeah. Oh, shit. Yeah, like that's pretty respectable. Thinking that this size is probably about right. But maybe, just maybe this next size up. Probably not, though. I mean, yeah, that shows that you've got a pretty decent understanding of the mechanics at this point of 8. And I probably do need this bigger size here. So we're wiring these in parallel, so we're gonna chop both of these relatively far back, but not all the way, just about halfway here, I guess. Short these. Okay, we've got those disconnected. We will use this end, I guess. I probably won't stream the coding part. I don't know. I haven't made up my mind. Just streaming with coding is a hassle, just because of the number of windows involved, and I don't want to do a desktop capture, because that's a hassle too. Okay, so we want to connect these reds together. Or like they just won't twist together at all. That's fine. We don't really need that anyway. Chuck this heat shrink tubing over. But this size is suitable, so I will chop it to about there. Avoid the hassles. Where's my solder? There it is. I haven't really worked on it. I'm gonna finish it tonight. I think I'm probably gonna do just Mario 64 over. I might do some Heroes overnight. I might do a little bit of Mario 64 on the Sunday morning. We're gonna do some Zelda's Adventure at the start of the stream. Pull this heat shrink over our little connection here. And then we will use the edge of the soldering iron to cause it to shrink. Play Mario Kart at the start. Actually, that's maybe not the worst idea. Yeah, do it earlier in the stream. I had put it at midnight EST, but yeah, I could actually do it earlier in the day, in theory. Yes, is that new, Emily? Don't think that's any different than normal. But yeah, I haven't actually played Mario 64 recently, anytime recently, so I might do that. That might just be a fun game to do. Like, obviously I'm not going to finish it during the stream, but that might just be a fun game to kind of play through. Because it would sort of... It's a game I'm familiar enough with. Not super familiar, though, because I haven't played it. I guess I played, like, the DS remake at some point there. Jesus, that's hot, but I can't let go until it's nicely connected. Okay, and then we will run a little bit of this black heat shrink over top of this. 100% in 2 days. Yeah, I'm not sure, because I know I don't think I ever 100%ed it as a kid. And by think, I mean I know I didn't. But I mean, like, I know I 100%ed the DS version. Hey, Erica. I need slightly more hands than I currently have. Yeah, right. As a kid, these things take, like, forever. Just because you're bad at these things. Okay. We've got that nice and connected. We'll shrink the heat shrink. I mean, I guess it depends what time period you define as being a kid lab, but in theory, yeah. Also, I don't have very many good games for N64. I've never played Banjo-Kazooie. I think I started it once and played for like maybe an hour in an emulator once. But other than that, I've never played it. I ordered a copy off of eBay because I think that will be a fun game to play through on stream. And it's a game that I've wanted to play through for a while, so... So I think Banjo-Kazooie, but that won't be here for the weekend. So yeah, we've got ourselves a nice parallel battery pack here now. Conker's Bad Fur Day, yeah, I don't think I've ever even tried to start that. But yeah, so I've ordered that, so we'll have that to stream at some point. 900. I'm not gonna 100% that, like, fuck that. But I'll certainly play through it. I'm not a big 100% fan. As I have mentioned before on stream. Or, yeah, I've mentioned it before on stream. Never felt it was a necessity thing to do. Okay, so these batteries can slide in like so, maybe. Why did this seem to fit before? If this doesn't fucking fit now, then I'm gonna be a little bit pissed. Oh, it fit because I didn't have the charging thing in there before. Shit. Opens a walkthrough for the achievements. Jesus. Okay, well that does fit in there. I can do that, and it actually does close. Then we can power it on. I don't like that a lot of the time it doesn't seem to power on properly. I don't know what the deal is with that. Like, I can hit the reset button after it's powered on, in theory here. It's kind of in an awkward spot now. But I can hit the reset button and it'll power on properly. So you can see button presses are all reflected. Just don't know why it doesn't power on properly there every time. I don't know if that's a matter of, like even there, like that. So I need to work that out, understand what's going on there. That was happening before even just plugging it in sometimes though, so that may be an LCD issue, or I don't know, something. But oh, nice! You can actually see the power light through the speaker slot a little bit there. Now, if I was to just ignore the fact that I wanted this to be slightly user accessible, I could push these slightly back here. Do something like that. That might work better. Yeah, that does work better. It's not ideal, but that's how the batteries fit, so. It's not bad. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all the stream today anyway, so. Oh, why did that not power it off? Shit. Means I've. Yeah, oh, that's bad. Oh, shit, and I didn't put... I was going to put hot glue over that. But see ya, Emily. Shit, I busted that pin off. Might still be able to get it soldered just to that thing there. The little remnant of the post. Yeah, okay, so that got that back in there. I will just hot glue the bejesus out of that. Because otherwise it's not gonna ever stay. What time is it even? 10:45? Okay, this is a pretty reasonable place to stop. Put in cheese sticks. Ugh. That is disgusting. Why did you even say that? Also, I don't even know if that's possible. Humna. just, I mean, I guess you'd have to carve it down to the right size, but well, temperature might not be ideal for melting cheese. You'd have to drop it because cheese doesn't usually melt at particularly high temperature. Waiting for this to get up to temperature. And then at some point I need to figure out how I'm going to make the link cable door stay in place. I'll probably have to trim it and maybe fill it with hot glue so that it wedges onto the micro USB thing there. Or maybe if I could get a busted micro USB cable, I could take the end and attach it inside of this so that it actually plugs into the micro USB port. Still needs to heat up a little bit more. In the meantime, I'll go grab an elastic band. So that I can see this without my hands on it sealed up. Alright, night candy gambler. You're not going to miss much anyway here. Wanted to get some hot glue on here so that don't break off that connection again in the future. I don't know if this will actually do the trick or not, but you gotta do something. Sitting in a parking lot. This cool down a bit while we hold this in place. Got myself 2 elastic bands, and then that should let us kind of tie it all together and see what it looks like. My hand's not holding it together. You always burn the heck out of your fingers. I wouldn't say I usually burn my fingers, but I usually end up with a lot of glue stuck to them. Okay, so note number one, I definitely need to secure those batteries in there because, oh well, whatever. It's not rattling now, but it was rattling before, and that's no good. But otherwise, there's the power hole there that I might need to just block up with something. I need to still put the cartridge in the back. I need to figure out how the hell I'm gonna do anything with this. I might fill these holes in with plastic melted in like I did on the bottom here, which actually looks pretty decent now that I look at it. Again, like, I did a pretty good job filling that in. Still need to... I see the emote. Need to figure out what the fuck is making this not always start properly. Which I think is probably a software thing, but it might be something related to the LCD, but restarting it seems to do the trick. So yeah, we can probably fill in these holes on the back just with some plastic, and then that'll, because we're not going to be able to use screws in them, so they'll look a little bit fucked up. We'll have to figure out a different way to I'm going to make notes here. Let's also unplug the hot glue gun. Okay, so fill screw holes on back. We need to secure batteries. We need to... I can see the emote, bloody. I think it's... You probably just need to refresh your thing or whatever. We need to figure out how to close it, and why the fuck does it not always boot? Seen worse handwriting. I think that's pretty much it. Oh, also, link cable door thingy. Need to figure out how I'm going to make this stay inside this gap and cover it mostly. They just didn't like me. I got an email from the other escape room, the one downtown, yesterday or today or something, and we also need to cartridge in back plus attach label. Tiny bit better. So that's this that I'm talking about. And I think that might be it. They thought I was cool. Oh, DC power jack on side needs to be dealt with. Maybe just fill it in. I don't know. Okay, I think that's it for real. Got puppies in the car. This is too cool. This is awesome. I love it. So with that, I think we are good to stop the stream. Thanks for watching. What day is it today? Thursday, so tomorrow's Friday. I will very much attempt to have a stream schedule for the 24-hour stream up by end of day tomorrow. I will make sure to put something in the Switch Bitches group so that you guys know what is up with karting. Maybe I could do 2 kart sessions even. One earlier, one later. But yeah. Thank you for watching. 24-hour stream soon. Just heard a weird noise.